Free Riga and the use of abandoned buildings. Sort of in general, I'll give our perspective of how we've come to do our practice. And then I'll tell more specifically about one of the projects, sort of a full cycle of project, which was open 2017 spring and closed 18 autumn. All right. So it all basically came about because Riga has enormous amounts of abandoned buildings. This is like a very central place. It has a large demographic, social, economic reasoning why it's so. But in 2013, out of a large contemporary art exhibition, people of art background of NGOs came together with this simple idea that they will put stickers on abandoned buildings to signify that, guys, these buildings are empty all around and we cannot afford anything for our galleries or our art spaces. What's wrong with this? And it really became a big hit. This is sort of, and I was studying political science when this was starting to happen, and I felt, wow, I'm reading about this stuff, it's totally like what I'm thinking. This nonsense, crazy plans of this island is still empty, you know. They made a plan, they arranged everything, you know. Some few thousand people will buy A-class offices and whatnot. But in reality, you have whole center with empty buildings, and you know there's this extreme dissonance in urban environment. So the first thing, basically, what we did, we mapped the buildings in the city. What's there? Is it really the picture what we think it is? And it very much turned out to be so. We mapped together, I think, some numbers here, but altogether in Riga there were like around 500 buildings in the center, which were crowdsourced, mapped, empty. Here you can see that already the picture or our work field more clarifies that these buildings are mainly privately owned. It's very little state or municipality owned, and yeah, this is already later map of one of the very central areas. I'll talk about this building slightly later. This is the silent center, the Jugend area. All the rich German tourists, all the Japanese tourist groups go here, and you know, our building is here, and this fanciest street you can find is here. It's always very, very nice to try to dissolute them to our place. And it's 2014, a group of creatives sitting in these hangars, very similar to this place, thinking we should get some place, we should get some area to do our creative stuff. We did also a survey. It's still, there's no real place yet. And we did a survey of who are these people who want to take spaces. And this was very open, but it was more or less like, you know, people wanted cheap space for social culture purposes for basically everything, you know. You could do office for social entrepreneurship, you could do meeting spaces, technical workshops, food, bars, shops, exhibition spaces, outdoors, you know, all these green fields in the middle of city for no purpose, and you know, people would actually want to somehow give to the society. All right. It's a bit my personal research project. I'll try to compress a lot of information. Of yesterday, I put it in. I have some other slides from this, but not here. More or less, my interest was in this subcultural development of how you make space for youth and for culture, for people who otherwise, you know, really have no other place to be. And what basically I did interviews with places from early 90s till 2015, 16, I guess, last place was established. and they all said that they had no seed money, they were super cheap, you know, they got whatever they could, and basically the only thing was that they had to have some sort of clear agreement with owners, and then if you have some clear agreement with the owners and the main stakeholders, if the neighbors don't smash you out of the place, it should somehow work out. Yeah, I will not try to explain this too much detail. So we have all these nice people from subcultures, from culture scene, from NGOs, and we go to these state offices, municipality offices, and this is real estate department. Now this guy is our vice mayor, yeah, they sit in these offices, very nice buildings, super well renovated, everything nice, and they think it would be nice if you renovated some buildings. Yeah, do this, and we were meeting for some in 2014, 2015, like meeting several times, and both agreeing that something should be done, but the municipality wasn't really interested in giving any space. But they suggested, and very nicely suggested, that we should move on for and work with privately owned building owners, and that would be sort of our answer. We really looked for models around Europe. These are two German models, which also work with private owners. This, though, is like a municipality agency, ZZZ Bremen, their architect office, and in Leipzig, Haushalten, but they have plenty of other NGOs that do similar stuff. Yeah, and they work with private owners, and the idea is that they will guard the houses in the city while there is no real purpose for the house. I've been to Leipzig, and it's really nice. There are quarters and parts of city where you have plenty of houses with some anarchist flags, and yeah, that warmed my heart. But you have first floor, some nice gallery maybe, and the rest of the house is livable. Otherwise, these houses would be totally demolished. And they have very much the same situation as Kaunas, that the city is very student town. You know, it's really a town for students, and they really pushed on it very well. And yeah, it sort of became second Berlin or something like this, at least for some. No, every town is second Berlin. Yeah, so still sort of forming the model. I think here I started my first project, but this is the basic idea, again, just to clarify, super clear. You know, the house has no purpose. It's when it gets no purpose, it sort of creates minuses for the owner, and it's very, very clear to any reasonable person, you know, who counts plus minus. The big problem is basically that they think that, you know, next year they'll have the big plus. You know, they'll have something great, something super big will happen, and they'll start the development. In the reality, in the case of Latvia, where this is sort of systematic vacancy. In over the natural vacancy, which you would consider natural. Yeah, and basically what we did, and we still do this, we explain owners, all right, we have some clear terms or clear time of amount of time where the building will be empty, and we can maintain it, we can better it, and then, you know, one day when you get the big money, or maybe our alternative experimental purpose somehow works out, you can have the project with some additional value. Maybe similar like this. This is already like planned developer scheme, but you know, there is this cultural, natural bugs cleaning out the front, and people in the civic sense caring about the place. This is all the parts. Yeah. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I told you 15 minutes is very little. So, all right, again, about the same. We have many houses, many projects. I will quickly talk about this project, which was closed. And we also have one space in Tallinn quarter. Some of you have been, and La Stadia, it's more like neighborhood. This is very much like creative quarter, very much self-explanatory. And we were somehow in the middle, but more with this, I guess, subcultural scene. This is the house. It was a very big thing for me to get a 4-story house in the historic center of city. Very exciting. We came in, and what we do usually is we check out the history of the building and you know what's the place. And Martin Changelis, one sort of urbanist also in Riga, he made a trash museum. They also got nominated for a fancy Latvian art prize. What weird stuff you can find in abandoned house, you know, from marijuana grow box to heroin synergies to some Soviet inventions, very funny stuff. But then this same room, the same room becomes exhibition place. We had two very nice curators from very established art space doing their curated program with their friends artists, but in a more freer sense, you know, not this museum lockdown environment. The same room, we also quickly understood that we had the full house of residents, and we wanted them to come in and, you know, enjoy the art also and try to understand, you know, what are these graphics, you know, what does the graphics say about the Soviet time in Latvia? And then we sit down with the curators and eat a very humble evening lunch or dinner. Yeah. We also did many parties, especially in the first year when the house was sort of freeing up and opening rooms. This is our last mega party. Got everyone interested. We got also on news as police cracking down on illegal party. More parties. Yeah, and then later, we had only for the summer. Then we got extended the term for the place, and the biggest problem was how to deal with the yard, because it was raining a lot, and the plot in the front was basically before a house which was demolished, and so the ground they sort of threw on earth, but it was like a swamp. We called it D27 swamp when it was raining. And, you know, we had to deal with it, and we had many ideas, house meetings. We did the house meetings every week, like, how do we deal with this? We have no money, all right, let's get some money. And then, we did big talka, got a lot of earth. We made raised beds for community garden, free shop stage, great things. And then this is summertime. We had a very nice artist, also nominated for some award with this exhibition. The Dragon of the Stage from Trash. Anarchist youth. We sprouted a small primitive anarchist group to garden our yard. Lithuanian graffiti guy painting some Shiva modern interpretation. We had a very large biker invasion once. It totally filled our house and was crazy. It's really. And in general, it's sort of trying to find ways how this temporary solution can work. And this in our hallway, very sort of how you call this provocative. In temporary solution we trust. I think it's very, especially for Latvians, it's sort of, Latvians want everything to be proper as possible. And this is somehow, I believe, very much locking some actions in not doing. And I think that's basically the story of how we got all this abandoned city center. So we also have to have this temporary solution and have to understand how to have a trustable temporary solution. Yeah, thank you for attention.